Hello. How are you, Tucker? How's your last week been?
Hello, hello. Great, very relaxing, very chill. Just been home on a break, so actually very calm waters over here. No big waves at all, really. Just basically, I've only been practicing my volleyball team, preparing for the matches coming. So
Nice.
that's been good and intense. But outside of that, I've been trying to um, bulk a lot, eat more,
Okay.
and yeah. Trying to think about some of the things. Physically, not really getting out anywhere. Not enough actually. But I guess internally, in my mind, I was kind of trying to be more open to challenging it, like
Yeah.
to what I think I should go on in terms of mental paths. Um, a little bit, not too much, but that's basically it for me.
Okay.
Um,
I'm
you
keen to
you
hear more about
mentioned.
the mental paths that those are, but yeah.
Mm, mm. But yeah, you mentioned you did some breath work forum. That's what you
Yeah,
said.
so Tucker and I before we start recording, we do breath work together, and today we did Wim Hof. And I was just thinking as I did Wim Hof with you, because it's only my second time doing it. I've only done it with you. The first time I did it, I found it like I was using too much oxygen too quickly and I couldn't keep up with what he was saying. Um and also my circulation or something was like I was like gotta pass out basically. But the second time I did it today, it was kind of easy. I found I could do all of the things that he instructed to do in the video without difficulty. And I was wondering why that was. And I wonder if it was because I did a breathwork seminar a few days ago. And I'll tell you about this breathwork seminar. It was like
Mm,
over an hour, it was like an hour and 20 minutes of breathwork lying down. And
wow.
they said at the beginning, if your hands go like this, don't worry, it's gonna pass the few minutes after the breathwork ends. And I was like, okay, why would my hands go like that? Probably it's gonna be some issue with, yeah. So I thought, okay, that's
Mm,
gonna happen. You just gotta lean into it. You know, it's an hour and 20 minutes long. It's not gonna happen until you kind of work up to it. Within 30 seconds, my body started to do this kind of thing. And after maybe 4 or 5 minutes, it started. My fingernails were stabbing my skin so hard, and I was kind of looking at it. Mainly, I had like a eye mask on so that I could relax. But my eye mask kind of came off, and I was looking at it, and I was like, how? I wonder how in this moment I can open my hand so that they stop stabbing me. And there was just no chance that that was going to happen. Like there was no way you could move them. So I was using my teeth at one point, and I was like, I was trying to pull my hand open with my teeth, but then I was like, meh. And then I just kind of got used to it. And I was imagining like if I had a piece of glass, like a vase or something in my hand, it would smash right now because that's how strong um my muscles are when they're all working together involuntarily, contorting and contracting. Um, it's crazy how much more you
wow.
can actually tense your muscles involuntarily than you can voluntarily in a workout. That was crazy because I exercise. I go to the gym like 3 or 4 times a week, some weeks, but I don't feel that sore afterwards that I did from that breath work, just lying down on my bed. When I was driving after that to pick up my daughter from daycare, from nanny, I just driving, having to use my core to drive, it was like complaining. My core was complaining and it wanted to rest. Because I have a high car. My car is it's quite big. And in the driver's seat, you don't you're kind of high up, you're not really sitting in to anything. You're sort of, you know, you're using your core to drive. Anyway, so
Yeah.
um, and hours later, after the breath work, I was just holding my phone was exhausting. That's how fatigued my muscles were afterwards. just
Yeah.
from tensing like this for so long. Anyway, it was really great. I had there was moments where my whole body was like vibrating like this. It was like
Sheesh.
and
Wow.
yeah, you have some releases, and at some point, once they get you into a certain brainwave state, which is called theta brainwave state, I think, if I'm not mistaken, then they start to change some of your thought patterns and stuff, because you're in like the brainwave state of the 2-year-old, the one where you're very suggestible and you have no ability to kind of to do critical thinking, no and analytical skills. You just accept the beliefs that you're given. So unless I'm misremembering, because honestly, I can't remember half of it. I was asleep. Like, I was obviously not asleep. I was in a hypnosis, but because I could hear what he was saying, but he kind of said to come back, and I don't remember that middle part. But I remember him talking about trying to remember a memory of it when you were a child, when you felt very, very free, and try to encapsulate that freedom into like a ball. I wonder if this is patented. I wonder if I'm even allowed to talk about this because it's their thing. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, they tell you then to kind of basically take this ball in and allow it to go into you with your imagination, right? So suck in this
Yeah.
ball of light, which was that memory of complete freedom with no concept of any kind of restriction, that kind of thing. Did a few of those kind of exercises, and then certain things about what do you need to release and stuff. And because they took you to that state first, you can't not be affected by those kind of activities. So I remember some things, and then I was like just crying and releasing, and then but most of it I was like laughing. Like when my hands were doing this, I was like laughing, and everything was just funny to me. I just felt like, well, it's just like a big cosmic joke, just a big joke that we get to have all these cool experiences here in this reality. If we choose them, we get to have so many cool experiences. And I was just like, this is so cool, and it's quite funny. Anyway, so that was my breathwork experience from a few days ago.
That's well, I think I feel like if I had experience, that would be a pretty big thing for me. Like that's, well, especially that hypnosis state and all that stuff. Yeah, I find it really intriguing, like really deeply intriguing. Like I feel like somehow I live for those things. I want those experiences more than more than maybe other things. Like I would pay money for that instead of paying money for something else.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yep. I'm the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one was
Um,
free, actually, so I can send it to you. Like, I mean, I can send you the website where you can like register to do this like free exercise. Yeah, it's called
it's like I could do it by myself, you mean?
Yeah, like it's a recording. It's a recorded thing. And they send it to you if you're interested in teaching breathwork or incorporating it into your practice for others. Then you can sign up to this. They send you this recording first, and they say do a few breathwork journeys with these recordings before you talk to us, so that you understand what it's about. And then you can talk to them about incorporating breathwork to your clients. You have to learn it with them. So I shouldn't even be talking about it because I don't have any idea what I'm saying. Everything I told you might be completely wrong. My memory could be completely flawed. Maybe it was different. But if I do this kind of training with them, I will eventually be able to teach breathwork to other people, which I don't have any interest in. Like, I don't really have any interest at the moment in like making money from life coaching or doing women's circles or doing other things like that, like family therapy related stuff. Like, I want a lot of freedom to be able to give in these ways without any restrictions, but I want to do all this stuff. I just don't want to. It's not that I don't want to get paid for it, because that's kind of slipping into that arena of I'm too scared to ask for money for the things that I contribute to the world. That's another problem that a lot of people have and a lot of light workers have. But for me, it's like, at this point, I'm just really enjoying not having to rely on that stuff, keeping my income and my hobbies separated. To be honest, not that this is a hobby, like all this light worker stuff is my main interest in my life. It's not just a hobby, it's my main thing. But I happen to make enough money from my other things that I don't need to get money from doing any of this stuff at the moment. It's just like an offering. Maybe in the future it'll be different, I don't know. But for now, I feel abundant enough financially from the other things that I do. But yeah, I would like to teach people breath work. Yeah.
You mentioned, you said the term light workers. Can you explain a little bit of what specifically that is? Might be, I kind of guess, although I've never heard it before.
Drop that in there.
Yeah.
Casually. It's like people casually talking about Atlantis and other kind of ancient civilizations. I think it's awesome, but some people are just like, whoa, hold on. This is not accepted knowledge yet. Yeah, so light worker just means that somebody who their main interest in life, or main interest or not main interest, their one thing that they do in their life is they contribute and they work for the light. So
and what's the light?
This comes with like an understanding that there is such thing as the light. And the light is a way to talk about this concept of what's above us, or in the next dimensions, and also where we came from. And it's not just above us or where we came from, it's also within us and accessible all around us. It's here, but in a different dimension. So if we access it, like if we currently in our 3-dimensional reality, if we find ways to access the 5th dimension, then we actually are living in that space of light. Honestly, like this is everything that I say about this is just not guesswork, but it's just me trying to put words to something that I feel and something that I've learned about from other people who feel the same. There on the internet, like on YouTube, there's dozens and dozens of YouTubers who talk about this in a way more understanding. They've got a deeper level of comprehension. But the idea is the main thing here in our reality is this balance of the darkness and the light, people's souls coming here and coming here to grow, also to experience things, but also to grow. And a lot of people aren't thinking that way, that there is purpose to all of this and that there is something beyond all this and our souls have further meaning than just our physical bodies. So the people who do believe this way are people who kind of, you'd say they're like aware, and people who are aware plus want to help others and contribute and help the light, like to be seen and to be heard and to be understood by more people. You'd call them light workers. Another word people use for the light is like the mother, or or like God or collective consciousness. It's quite blurry. What's light? What's collective consciousness? Even to me, like I'm sure there is better ways to talk about it. And I'm kind of throwing everything all into one. But yeah, like one way that I would describe it in real terms, in like an experience, is I can tell you a story of my life. Maybe that'd be better. If you want to hear a story.
Yeah, let's hear a story.
Well, I've talked to you about ego deaths before, like, about shadow work, which is working like looking into the darkness in ourselves and actually facing it so that we can kind of not defeat it, but maybe you would say defeat it, but I would say like sort of allow the light side of us to be the one that's in the driver's seat. So doing this shadow work involves ego deaths or ego integrations. And I really like the idea of the ego surrendering willingly, which some people would say is an ego death. And when I have had, for example, given birth, when I have apologized to people who for many years I felt I could only think about the ways that they are ignorant, the ways they don't understand, or the ways that they have made choices that have hurt my heart or made my life difficult. When I chose to really understand and realize that I was always choosing that suffering, for me, that was my ego, surrendering and stuff. And all of this surrender is like, there is something on the other side of that, and it's always good. That's what I have found. So when I say it is good, what is it that's on the other side of that? To me, I would describe it as it's the arms of the mother. It's like stepping into the light when you step up like that. For example, when I had an ego death, like when I was giving birth, for example, the contractions, some people call them waves, where you have involuntary contracting of your muscles to help your baby move down and out. They get more and more intense as people will know. At some point, most women get to the point where they say, okay, it was at 1,000, then it was at 10,000, now it's at like 100,000 pain level. I can't do this. And women start saying these words, I can't do this. And when I started hearing that in my mind, thinking, okay, I can't do this. Like, I literally can't do this. Okay, that's enough now. There's no human way I could ever possibly do this because this is insane. Start sort of thinking like that. Although not in that many words, because you're just like dead on the bed.
Yeah.
I started getting a bit excited because all my training throughout my pregnancy and before my pregnancy told me that once you start thinking that your baby is coming soon, because that's basically transition. That's when you're transitioning from labor into pushing your baby out. That means your baby's right there, so close. So I was like, I'm starting thinking this. And then that little reminder from all the times I've read and meditated and made those intentions of how my birth is going to be, that little reminder helped me to have the strength to say, I will surrender now. I will surrender. And when you're facing that blinding white pain that's so intense and pinpointed that you feel like throwing up, and if in fact you do, most women do at that point, to go to relax all your muscles, like to decide to relax all your muscles and go, that it's like you're saying yes to the pain. It's like I do this kind of practice when I get remedial massages, deep tissue, when you have a really intense knot in your muscles that somebody is getting their elbow into, and there's a big part of your mind that's going, I'm going to tell the therapist to ease up because this is too much, it's too intense. But then the other side of you goes, I'm actually going to surrender all my muscles now. I'm going to make my whole face go relaxed and my jaw to relax and every other. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this. That is like the surrender into the pain. And what you see on the other side is, one, the pain doesn't get worse. Actually, it gets better when you do that. You think that from doing this, you're kind of holding the door shut on the pain a bit by not allowing that last bit of control to leave you. But actually, when you surrender, it gets easier. And what I find is that on the other side of that surrender is just the arms of the mother. And it's the light. And it is very comforting and it's very nice. But you have to surrender 100%. That's what I found. The ego, as in, has to surrender, not the higher self. You actually feel that your higher self is stepping up and you feel alive. And people, for example, who have near-death experiences and experience like floating above their body and looking at them, looking at the room, they say that they feel more alive in that body than like 1,000 times, more than 1,000 times than anything they've experienced in the previous life, which is why it's so hard for them to choose to kind of like go back into their body and keep living that life, because it's so much better outside of it. It feels so much lighter. It's like you're in the light, and coming back here is like being in the darkness. That's what most people describe. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, on the other side of an ego death and surrender is actually the arms of the mother, and it's light, and it's really, really nice from the few times that I've experienced it.
Yeah, wow. That's a story. Yeah, that's an experience.
Some people call
kind
that
of
also unconditional love of the universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I could see how they could be called the same thing, but also different points that are connected directly. For example, surrender and unconditional love. Like, you're basically surrendering to just, okay, fine, this person, okay, I'm gonna love them 100%, fine, screw it, fuck it, all right, just love them, okay, fine, and then you do it, but it has to be 100%, right? You can't do it 50% or anything, because then you're also just kind of lying to yourself or trying to make yourself play these games, right? Yeah.
I would argue, though, that doing it 50% is a great step. Sometimes we have to start like that.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Do you have any stories from your life where you did something like this?
I feel like I have, although a lot of memories, actually recently, I feel like this past year or 2 or 3, my memories just got, in general, my memories is getting fuzzier and fuzzier. Not about, well, yeah, I think my memories is getting fuzzier in general. But yeah, so I think even though that's happening, I feel like I know somehow that I trust the instinct that I've had those experiences. I felt that, but somehow I kind of just move on and try to move forward, right? I think I don't know if it's because of I want to move forward more. I want to be more ambitious. I want to experience more. I want to go to the next level. I don't want to linger on whatever happened. Like, I enjoyed it, and it was good. And at that time, and during that week and that stage of my life, it was good. And the people that were at that time, but I think I don't even do it consciously. Subconsciously, I just literally, okay, goodbye, thank you, goodbye. I didn't even say goodbye. I just look forward and start moving, start running forwards.
Yeah.
And then I just forget. I forget what I've done. I think it comes from the teachings that I've learned that were kind of a little bit, I don't say hammered because that's a bit strong, but they were put into me when I was younger, which is give and forget, right? Give and forget. And I think I did that to a lot. Like, you just also with working in terms of, like, for example, physical work. You work out and forget that you worked out. Move on to the next thing. Don't be like, oh, I feel this or good or bad, but okay, you worked out, good, forget.
Okay.
Again. So I feel like I do that in general with my experiences as well. I'm trying to remember what I could, one of them, because I'm sure that I've done it, especially from when I was an older teenager to these more recent years. I think if in Australia, if it happened.
I know it has happened for you, because even the way that you talk about it, like, oh yeah, the whole fuck it, I'm gonna love unconditionally. The way you say it comes from experience. You know exactly.
Yeah, it does. Right.
You know exactly what that is. Right. The idea of there's this resistance. I don't want to, but then you go, fuck it, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, but you know that's the right choice, right? Like, you know that's fuck, I know I should do this. I know I want to do this in general, although I don't want, but I know I have to.
Yeah.
And then you like, yeah, you kind of, well, I would say, right, you combat yourself and you defeat yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question that reminds me of, have you seen the new Avatar movie?
I haven't. I
Okay.
haven't.
Okay, but you've seen the old one.
Yeah, I love the old one. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I think I forgot about it. It was too long of a gap for me to be excited for the new one. Like I just forgot already.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe I feel like from what I've been hearing, I feel like that's an interesting thing we could talk about as well.
Oh,
That's
it, man.
right.
We could talk about that movie a lot.
All right, I'll make a point to watch it so we can
Yeah.
have a little discussion about it.
Yeah. It's a very humbling movie, if you allow it to be. It's very humbling. It just makes you go, wow, like, in what ways in my life am I not stepping up into courage? The courage that you see, many action movies have courage, but I think that this one had a lot more heart and courage and real, like, deep love and authenticity and goodness. So you can't watch a movie like that and not feel afterwards like, I want to be more courageous in my life. I want to love more deeply. I want to step into more. Just watching it, I noticed about myself, I was so much less fearful in the day for the rest of the day.
Right.
Not that I'm very fearful, but just even little things like I didn't avoid physical discomfort as much. You know,
Right.
I got into this habit this past year of tidying as I go, which means every time I leave a room, I leave it the way I found it. So I'm always picking things up that I put down. I'm not coming back to it later. And even that involves some moments of investing more physically because you have to squat down and like wipe up something. I have a toddler as well and a cat. So you can imagine how much time I spend wiping things. It's like a lot of my day is spent wiping. But yeah, just like bending down, squatting down, wiping things, gathering things. Like, I know that doesn't seem like a big deal to people, but with the constitution of my body is I'm quite small and I get exhausted easily. And just that's the situation of my body is I don't have like a lot of juice to use in my muscles.
In the tank.
Yeah, there's not a lot in the tank. I have to eat 4 times a day. Otherwise I feel dizzy. I just burn really quickly what I eat. And sometimes I feel quite weak. So even after that movie, just being able to be so much more in touch with my body and know how it's feeling and also be able to do more physically was really cool, among other things. I did enjoy it. I'd love to talk with you about the storyline after you watch it.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds cool. Because I remember the first one, I just felt, I mean, I was really young, you know, but I just remember I felt so mesmerized by the new world and wow, all these things, and it was kind of an eye opener for me. Definitely was not many movies do this now, I feel, for me, but it's one of those movies you finish and you have this motivation, at least. Well, normally I guess it lasts for the day, like you said, but yeah, I wonder what's gonna come out of the second one, because that recently that hasn't happened to me too much, you know, like, you know, I mean, I've been trying to watch the movies, you know, especially the big ones and classics that I haven't caught up on yet, and it just doesn't. I don't know. Well, it's probably not the movies, but right, the you know, the common factor, which is me, just maybe more open-minded, maybe more surrender type of states.
Also, though, it could also be the movies, because sometimes there is an element missing, and I do think that Avatar has got right a lot of elements there. It like touches little points in us quite well. So I think, because you're also like me, quite sensitive, you will be able to get that from Avatar. For
Okay,
me,
yeah.
one thing that was interesting about it, why I liked the big age gap between the first movie and the second movie, is because I kind of grew with the characters, and then seeing them again, and time has passed since the timeline of the first movie.
I see.
I liked that. And afterwards, I watched it with Kenmei. It was only the second time we could watch a movie in the cinema since I gave birth to May 20 months ago. But it was a great date. Highly recommend as a date. But he afterwards said, "What character did you identify with the most?" And I said Neytiri, which is the female lead.
Yeah.
And he was surprised by that, because in this movie, the main characters are actually the younger generation, in a way, in some way, as well. So he was surprised that even though Neytiri is not really the main character in this one, not like she was in the first one, it was still who I identified with the most. And I was like, Kenmei, I always identify with the mother archetype the most now, since I became a mother. It's not comparable, the way I felt before becoming a mother and now. It's two very different worlds to me. And when I see those teenage girls in the movie, the way I view them is completely as their mother. For me, it's not, when I look at them with their romances or whatever, I feel it's so sweet. It's so lovely, to see them opening up and to see this whole world opening up for them. It's so lovely. I don't identify with them as, how did that feel for me when I felt like that? I just feel like their mother. And then the rest of the movie as well, anytime I saw a child or a baby, I felt like if I was in that village community, how I would feel toward that baby, if that baby were real, would be very maternal. Anyway, so it's just interesting that there's such a many years between the two movies, because I'm a very different person to who I was in 2009 or 10 when the first one came out.
Wow, was it that long ago?
Yeah, I was in New Zealand on a summer workshop, church workshop, watching the first.
You watched it there?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it was so trippy. I loved it, but it was so trippy. There was this music that came out that was popular that season, which was Fireflies.
Fireflies. Yeah. City something.
Yeah.
I think.
And like,
wait. You would not believe your eyes. Damn it, fireflies. Yeah.
But now when I hear that song, I just think of Avatar, and like, it was so trippy with all the bioluminescent animals at nighttime, and I just kind of go to a different place. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing also about music. That would be a topic I would really like to also talk about with you. Because like for movies and all these different ways that we can enjoy and experience life. But for me, like, music has been the one that stayed through all these years. It's always stayed with me, despite of being in good or bad times.
Yeah.
And it's just and also in terms of this nostalgia thing, I remember watching this comment. I read this comment today that was talking about I don't know which music it was, this track, but it was music is the closest thing we have to time travel. So, when this comment, I was like, interesting. Because it was like an old one. That one was like Robin Schulz, I think, this summer song, that's like very summery, plays in the radio the whole, like 2013, 12. And it really brought me back, like the waves, that? Wave after wave, wave after wave.
Oh yeah.
100%. Slowly drifting.
Yeah, it was and all the time.
Yeah. And I thought that's interesting.
2012 or 13. Wow, gosh, that was a while ago. I was definitely in my teenage phase because when you sing that, that's what I remember is being kind of obsessed with boys.
That
That's
time, you must have been, what, 15? If I was 13 or 14,
Mm,
I guess. Yeah.
yeah. Not I wasn't spending 100% of my days obsessed with boys, but when I wasn't trying to advance my consciousness, or pray or something like that, and I was living the rest of my life, then yeah, I was obsessed with boys.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, during that time, well, if I'm guessing when I was, well, it's only 2 years, but when I was at that age, I was like the opposite. I went completely the other way. I shut out,
Okay, yeah.
like completely, and I was just so focused in, well, it was video games first. That's what one outlet I used, and then I switched completely. I had like this workshop, this church workshop in Germany, my first one. It completely changed me. I became like super open because I realized people are like me, and I felt a lot of love and a lot of light and all that entered my life. And then I became I went back to school, and that's when I entered high school, and I just became this kind of popular, half Japanese guy that's like,
Right. Yeah.
and like I started playing volleyball over there because my high school was like that, very volleyball based, and yeah, I remember I just completely shut out and just became, like a people's person, but really not like that. It happened later. Interesting how interesting to hear that you were like that and how I was.
Yeah, I can relate with that. I mean, you and I are just so similar in so many ways. I'd be interested to read our charts, our birth charts.
Birth charts. You mean that thing you sent me? What's that? What was that?
Yeah, like the astrology thing, like your sun, your moon, your rising, all those things.
Right.
There's things about your soul imprint. Yeah. I definitely have gone through a lot of different phases of doing things differently in life. And right now this past few years, I've been very interested in, like somebody told me once, or I heard it online or something, that joy, living in that state of joy, gratitude, bliss, attracts more of that. Very basic way of viewing it, but basically raising your vibration. So I stepped more into that, and I realized, contrary to something I thought growing up, joy is a great thing and we deserve to feel it. And so now that's something that I amplify in my life a lot. And it actually makes me more productive and more powerful and more giving and in service more to others, to be in my own joy and in my own pleasure and my own complete, like, highest enjoyment of life. It's still a challenge for me, like giving things to myself, like for most people. I do sometimes get those shadow feelings of guilt coming up, of like, oh, with this time, instead of doing this for myself, I could do something to serve like my family or others, or some goals. And actually I have to say, no, this is the best way that I can serve my goals and my family right now, doing something that leans into the highest, like, joy. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's a process, I have found. I never say it takes time, like things take time, because I don't agree with that model. That's kind of keeping us stuck in the Newtonian model. I don't say it takes time, but I say it's a process. You have to take the steps to thinking that way and attracting more joy and more abundance, and realizing that when there's more for everyone. When there's more joy in you, there's more joy for everyone.
Right.
Doing something for yourself doesn't take away from what you can do for others. It doesn't have to. It can, if you want to believe that that's how it works, then that will absolutely be the way that it works for you. But if you start to believe in new physics, different physics, not the Newtonian model, but the fifth dimension model, then actually it is possible. Because the Newtonian model, the one that most people live in this third dimension, is like cause and effect. So I give $5 to you, you have $5 more, I have $5 less. Or I want to lose weight, so I'm going to cut calories for a year, and then in a year I will weigh less than now. It's very time-based, and there's all these physical restrictions. But if you go into the fifth dimension, then there's no time, you collapse time and space. So there are different laws, and we can actually play with the fifth dimension now. That's the secret I've been learning the past few years. And at first you just have to believe it, and your life hasn't changed much, but then your life starts changing. It gets easier and easier to believe it because you know it's working for you and around you all the time. And that's where I'm starting to step into now, is it's getting easier and easier for me because I'm seeing right in front of my eyes that it's real, that things don't have to take time. I'll give you an example. I've been speaking with you and I haven't spoken to you in 2 weeks, right? And then in that 2 weeks, so much has evolved. People would say like it would take years to evolve that much, but just 2 weeks, because I'm unlocking a different level. I decided I want to contribute to women in the form of holding a women's circle, because I feel that there's so many women out there who are lacking community, support, time to themselves, time to work on their inner self, time to like guidance to step up. And I want to affect many people in a short period of time. So Women's Circle is a great way to do that. And then I got that idea after I last talked to you. And already I got the idea. I told people about the idea just very briefly on Instagram and stuff. I have dozens of people on the wait list, people who send me their email to get the updates. And I said to them, you know, is this time better or that time better? And many of them said either time is 100% fine for me. And most of them are mothers. So for me, it was just like, whoa, you know, we have all these concepts of what's possible, and like nobody's going to come because everyone's busy with their kids and stuff. And people just make it happen because people are ready. The right people, the people who are ready are the ones who came to me. The people who are not ready, I don't even know about because I'm not spending time on people who aren't ready. So I've got dozens of people interested in the Women's Circle, and we're going to do our first one in a few days. And I got Zoom Pro today to prepare for that. So yeah, just that. And then I did a play date as well. And somehow people just piled in one after the other, and my house was packed with kids and moms. And people brought food and everyone contributed. And we had this beautiful sort of day connecting as women and mothers, and our kids all connecting. And it was very harmonious. And the kids were feeding off that energy of us all enjoying it. And the kids were playing harmoniously in our garden. I'll send you some photos, but it's just this kind of thing where you feel isolated when you accept that reality. And the second that you decide to accept a new reality and step into, there's abundance of support, abundance of community, abundance of people who want to connect. It just shows up at your door, literally. Anyway, so that's one example of collapsing time and space and manifesting from the fifth dimension, drawing experiences to you from the quantum field through your vibration and your thoughts.
Cool. Yeah, you're hammering these words, like these terms, really like on a high level. Yeah, I've actually been thinking about this kind of stuff. Well, not in this way, of course. At least it's not visualizing it that way, I think. But about that it's not about setting this kind of very linear, it's called goals, but having a system that works, and not like the wheels. Not having, okay, I want to get there, so let's build I'm going to go again with the train analogy. Build a train and then we go. No, you build a train that can go anywhere, and then you can literally achieve any goal because the system you have, train, right? It gets to anywhere, right? It's so good, it's so efficient, it burns fuel really well. It's not rusty at all because you keep maintaining it. it's badass because it has flames on it, all of that.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about that a lot because, on the contrary, it's interesting because, yeah, we have like, although we have a lot of similarities, I think we have like this polarity also, like
Yeah.
this. It's kind of yin and yang. Like we're like always in a way together because we're so similar, and of course we connected in the natural way that we were in this life, but we have actually never touched. So it's like this polarity.
Yeah.
Like for me, in this micro way that I want to explain, say now is, these past 2 weeks have been very well. I wouldn't say like down, but they're very, very the opposite. I haven't really found much. It was really like playing very very sedentary lifestyle. Yeah, really not moving as much as, like, since I came back from Japan. Like, this is the most lazy, I guess, called lazy and slow, and really not doing much. Just been procrastinating, and of course, I've had this a lot before, but it's been a long time since I felt like this, because fortunately I've been doing well, but now I'm back. I'm like, the rut, people call it, right? A lot of us, always have people listening, I'm sure, and can relate. And like, I'm back here again. And I knew when I was at the top, when I'm doing well and everything's going good, and I just feel, you got all these things going for you. Like, I was back then in that state, and now I'm here. Oh, like I can just come back. I can come back here anytime because look how easy everything is. But then when you're in there, it just feels like, in this state, it just feels so much more difficult. Everything, right? Like, it just feels everything, just even going outside for a walk, it just,
Yeah.
feels so far away, right?
Yeah.
But I've been exactly thinking about this stuff that you're saying, like this fifth dimension, you put it, but and that stuff is available. Like, everything is available. Like, and I understand that, but maybe there's something that I'm missing, and maybe you can point it out, maybe if you see it. But it's just, okay, everything is available, but I'm like, like so these are the things that I've been kind of playing around with in my mind these past few weeks. Like, I know it, but what's like, is there missing, or am I just missing the point of a perspective? Or is this some kind of psychological aspect that's habits that I've been doing my whole life from my childhood, right? Like, what is it?
Interesting. I love your like contemplations, and I think it's very valuable, this time that you're having of being in that sort of kind of below.
I thought about that too.
Stuck under some.
Right.
I've been in that space so many times in my life, and also I have depressive tendencies, so I have predisposition. I don't know, genetic, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, but I have predisposition to get depressed. With
maybe genetic.
certain triggers, yeah, for sure. There must be something, and I've had to battle in my life with that a lot. This intense mind that makes meanings and sometimes can help me to propel into depression, like a little rocket ship of like, everything's ready to go. You just need a few triggers, and then boom, let's go there.
Yeah. Right.
So the main thing that I felt when you said that was so much compassion, because I know what it feels like to be in there, and you feel powerless, like you can't get out, and like, everything is like you're moving through water. You're trying to walk through water, and it's fucking slow and heavy.
Oh. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Just yesterday I was thinking, whoa, like the way that I've been feeling, like progressively more and more the past few years, is like I'm kind of running through no atmosphere. Like, not no atmosphere, but
yeah.
the air is less heavy.
No drag. Yeah.
And I like look at people around me when I'm walking in the street, and I'm just like thinking they look like they are walking through water. They look like it's tough. They're looking like it's tough mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Little things getting them down quickly, like getting frustrated at the person who's serving them coffee is getting it all wrong. And it's so hard for the customer to not let that affect them because of the place that they're in their mind. So I just feel so much compassion because I've been there so many times. I have the lived experience of it. And for me, when I talk to myself from the past, what I kind of say now is, instead of trying to unlock how to get out of that, the first thing that I say is try to embrace and accept that that's where you are right now and not deny it. Because like there's something there to face in the darkness. And some people, especially people who are very positive or want to think positive, they really struggle to face the darkness because they feel that if they accept that it's real, the light can't be real.
They'll go further down. Right.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like that where it's, for example, look at the way that some religions view sexuality. It's like, don't touch the darkness, don't look at your darkness, because they're scared that if they look at their darkness, that there won't be any light. And actually both darkness and light can exist. And I've realized I want to look at the darkness, but from my higher self. I want to go into the darkness and look at it and see what's there. And also decide that I'm strong enough for the light to be stronger. And there have been times in my life where I've followed the darkness because I'm a chaser. I sprint at whatever direction I'm going in. So when it's the light, I'm like off. I'm running. When it's the darkness, I can like do some pretty dark, crazy shit. Where people will be like, what the actual fuck are you doing? And I'm just like a witch, like a dark witch, just kind of like moving shit around, causing absolute chaos and mayhem.
Chaos.
Like, I've been in that phase in my life many times. And I'm accepting that about myself. Like I'm in full acceptance of that. I know that my soul is one that I sprint towards the stuff that I'm interested in. And if I'm engaging in the darkness, it's going to be darkness. If I'm engaging in the light, it's going to be light. But I take this example of sexuality in like Christianity or religion because I think it's a good analogy, because the answer to understanding and unlocking that for us is accepting our darkness and it coexisting with the light and going and actually facing it so that we can have that jurisdiction and that sovereignty over the dark side of ourselves. Like, for example, with sexuality, we want to unlock the highest realms of abundance in sexuality. You can access the highest levels of joy, bliss, pleasure, deep connection, all of that stuff, security, safety. That's the kind of thing you can access if you are willing to not be numb and you're willing to unnumb all levels. It involves complete vulnerability, but most people go their whole lives without being completely vulnerable with their partner sexually. And so they have a limit in what darkness they access, but also they have a limit in what light they access. And that's the sad part. So I'm saying when it comes to depression or a dark period in life, one thing that comes to my mind is exploring, like, don't numb it and like fully accept that that's where you are and try to find what the lesson is there. Don't try to jump out of the darkness, because you'll just end up getting back in until you learn the lesson there. There's something there, something that your highest self knows and is trying to teach your lower self. Like leaning into the darkness, acknowledging that it's real, and then sitting with it and going, all right, I'm here now, so let's get this done. I'm here. Let's find what I need to find, learn what I need to learn. You know, I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to commit to this. And then I know that the natural laws of the universe are that when it is done, it will be done, and I can move out of this and move forward. Not that it's not moving forward to stay there, but I mean, I will be moving out of this after. That's how I see it.
Thanks for that.
I just feel like depression is it's a real dark night of the soul. It's tough. It's dark. But darkness serves a purpose as well. And there's ways that we can make it a shitty experience and ways that we can make it a helpful and a learning experience. It depends how we choose to feed it,
Yeah.
Are we sitting in that dark cave as our highest self, or are we sitting in it as this low self, just running around making mayhem and making bad choices, numbing, going, no, I'm not here, I'm not here.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know. I feel like that's the depression is the dark night of the self. That's a good quote that I think. Well, I'm not saying if you will or not, but if you did become famous in the end, and then somehow, you never know, like history or something, then I think this will be a good quote. I'm gonna write here, Kayami, 2023.
But dark night of the soul is not. I did not write that. I did not come up with that. That is a very common term. In this way of speaking about things. Unfortunately, I did not think of that.
That's okay. Anyway, it came out of you, so that's all I.
Okay, great.
But accept it and learn the lesson. That's that's a good one as well. Yeah. Yeah, you said a lot of good stuff. Oh, yeah, you said a lot of good stuff here. Yeah, I think it just should be at least for me. It does hits right on target as well, because we're talking something that I'm going through now, and especially so like it's a good thing for me to be here, and I definitely get it, because I think also this experience helps me, if I want to be a leader, which trying to look at myself from outside, and this kind of person with these characteristics, with this kind of path and background, likes and dislikes and all of that. Like, does this person, would he be a good leader? And would he like to? I think I would say yes. And this kind of experience, like not just being like, things going well all the time, but actually going down to have these experiences that are kind of also very, I don't want to say mundane, but natural for everyone. It can help me in the future to relate more with the people that I'll be dealing with. Like, I know exactly what you're going through and all that. And I wonder if I sometimes I do this on purpose so that I can also relate a little bit. Like, I get myself a little bit in a hole. I just kind of put my foot in there, and then sometimes I end up falling in without it being on purpose. But I feel like that kind of happened a little bit to. Okay, I want to know what it is like. I feel like it's not good, but I want to know what it's like.
Yeah.
Especially in Japan, in my Japan experience, I feel like that happened. Even though, a lot of the things that, growing up in the church, they say, no, don't do this and that and that. And I was like, I'm going to do it anyway, just because I think I'd like to experience it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a personality thing, because I know exactly you also relate to this. Like, life is just too good to. I want to experience. It's not even about the pleasure, maybe, or it tastes good, of the alcohol or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to experience it. I want to have this in my repertoire of experiences, right?
Yep, exactly.
So,
I feel you. And that's interesting that you mentioned that you even already have this knowledge that there was a part of you that chose that experience that you're having now. There's a lot of versions of ourselves, right? And some of those versions of you chose what you're going through now. I 100% believe that for my own life, and I believe that is what people do. With all the darkness all the dark nights of the soul I've been through, I really can see how I chose them all. And actually, for me, one of the hardest things in my life has been actually choosing now not to go into a dark night of the soul. Not exactly like today, but I mean,
Well, we have May now, so I feel like.
what do you mean?
Well, I don't know if I got it correctly, but going to if you meant that, as I said before, purposely putting my foot in the in the muddy water, in the darkness. But I feel like I'm not that young anymore, but I'm still at the age now. So my responsibilities are at a stage where I can kind of afford to do that. Whereas, well, you have May now, and you have these things that household. So right, that's what I thought.
Well, I do feel that people who have children are just as willing to go into suffering as people who don't have children. So I think that the denominators are more something else. And for me, I have chosen, I'm going to learn the lessons I need to learn in this lifetime without needing to be launched into them. Like, I'm going to proactively go and get the lesson. And I'm not going to wait for example, diagnosis of an illness or a car accident or like a big sort of cataclysmic event in my life to grow. I'm going to go and learn and lean into the things that there's always signs in every moment of every day. There's always a sign of what it is that we're meant to be working on right now. So I'm going to always listen to those signs and follow them. So that was actually hard because it's chasing the unfamiliar, leaving behind the familiar, what feels safe and familiar, and choosing a new way of being, which is actually one where there's going to be less suffering. Many people find that way harder than staying in suffering. So for me, I don't regret at all having depression many times in the past in my life. I don't regret that. And at the same time, now I'm really willing to believe in my ability to have compassion for other people without needing to experience every type of suffering myself. I know I'm going to be working with people in this style a lot in my life. And part of me knows I have experienced enough suffering to be compassionate with the people I work with. And at the same time, I know that I have an ability to be compassionate even with things I haven't experienced. For example, I want to work a lot with parents and parenting and children in the future. And so I've done in the past many years a lot of learning about parenting from a psycho-spiritual standpoint and emotional, psychological standpoint. And I'm willing, I don't need to have a lived experience of every type of parenting blunder in order to be compassionate with people who are going through repairing parent-child relationships. You have, at some point, as helpers of others, we have to accept that we can't have experienced every suffering that the people we're helping have experienced in order to help them. And we don't need to.
Right.
Either. You can help people even without experiencing what they're experiencing. I've chosen that the type of leader I'm going to be is one that is a role model. And I know that means I can't help everyone because for some people it'll be too far away. And I see that. Some of the ways that I parent, people find it too unrelatable. Like a lot of people find it too unrelatable because it's really idealistic. Some people feel even triggered by my way of parenting because they feel that they don't want to see that and see that it's possible because that means they have to change something in themselves. But the people that I do touch are the ones who are ready and they want a role model who's pushing those upper limits. And I'm not the only one. There's other people who push those upper limits. It's a very small percentage of the population, but we are really pushing and seeing how far can we play with this reality? How far can we play with parenting in a new paradigm? Can we unlock something even further? And for a while, I was like, I can't do that because I won't be able to help anyone when I'm so unrelatable. But what my guides told me was, don't worry about that, because everyone's mission here is different, and yours is to appeal to and help those who want to push further. Just like what I was looking for when I was pregnant, before I was pregnant, I was looking for women to guide me through my pregnancy and birth in a very idealistic way. And I'm so glad that they existed. And those women pissed off a lot of women before I found them. They pissed off a lot of women with their ideal births, ideal pregnancies, ideal parenting styles, because a lot of women felt very triggered by that and confronted. But I really appreciated it because I had someone to guide me through. And that's what I want to be to other women as well. Like, for many years, I was frustrated at my role models, like my mother, my older sister, and other older women. And I wanted them to be a leader to me and a role model in a way that they weren't. And many times the message that came back to me was, that's your job, as in me, Kaimi. It's not their job. And it was so hard. And I have fought with my mother so many times and said to her, you are the parent. I'm not the parent here. You're the parent. You're meant to show me. And I wanted her to step into that idealistic mother-child relationship that I thought would be best for me. But that was not my sole mission on this planet, is to have that. That's someone else's. Maybe it's May's. Maybe it's, many other people's, is to have parenting that was done really, really carefully and really well. That wasn't for me. I didn't choose that. And that's another thing, choosing our parents and choosing our family. That's a whole nother topic. But I believe that it's exactly as it was meant to be. I'm really stepping into that more now. And I'm releasing a lot of resentment I used to have for my parents not doing what I, based on just the psychological model, doing what I thought they needed to do to make me a healthy brain. I now realize I didn't just need a healthy brain. I needed the psycho-spiritual surroundings to step into my mission on this planet. And mine happens to be that I need to be that role model for others. I don't need someone else to be that for me. Because, collective consciousness is guiding me through it. My higher self is guiding me through it. My guides and some other leaders who are really powerful that I'm in touch with now are incredible people from the internet. I can write a list in show notes. People who've really been good guides for me, that when I look at them, I can just feel it, that they've done so much of this spiritual work and they've released so much stuff that they are really far along that path that I'm going to be going on. But yeah. Why was I talking about that?
No, I mean, I'm just contemplating. You mentioned about me contemplating. Like, I really do that. Like, and I do that so much that people think, like, people are, they finish talking, I'm just like thinking, or like I'm just quiet, and people think, oh, they start talking because they think I'm waiting for them to talk, or because I didn't like or something. But I really just space out because I'm just thinking, I'm letting my brain go to whatever, feeling about what you were saying. Right. One of the things that I was kind of trying to do is trying to remember a quote that I heard yesterday. You said about, it was quite early in this time that you were talking about about the pain, not needing to experience the pain directly and to experience in order to relate, but also you don't wait for things to come to happen, bad experiences to happen. And it kind of reminded me of this quote, which is, if you don't accept the truth as your guest, it'll come knocking at your door and bursting through it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I definitely, Jordan Peterson also, and other, many people now, they say this in different words, and it's so true. And well, when I think in this case, when we're in these kind of ruts or downward trends, for me, it's like I felt kind of scared because I'm it's like a time ticking, because the door will come knocking. there will be something coming up soon. If I don't go to it directly, then it'll come to me, and that's ends up being worse.
Yeah.
Maybe always.
Well,
Yeah,
more
that's one of the thoughts. Sorry.
I don't know about better or worse, but it's more suffering. It's the path of more suffering.
Well, I feel like it wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be a stretch to call it more suffering worse, but
Okay,
that,
yeah. Well,
because
then, yeah. If worse means more suffering, then it's worse. Yeah, it's worse.
unless we're working out and stretching, which
yeah.
which pain is sometimes good, because it means
Well, yeah, I
you're
don't
working.
even consider that to be suffering, really. You know,
Right.
in the brain, pain and pleasure are actually pretty close together.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've actually been playing with that a little bit, and this is a sidebar from our main conversation, but on this kind of like spectrum of pain to pleasure, I've been sort of moving things along it. So when of course, I was introduced to this idea to do with birth and labor and giving birth and stuff. The idea that you can actually, with your consciousness, you can move it from pain to pleasure.
Oh.
There's this whole field of study based around that. Of course, not very funded, but
right.
There is anecdotally a lot of information and knowledge to do with that people can explore. They can start with looking up orgasmic birth and anything to do with that, which is not just sexual. It's to do with having a birth that is pleasure filled and in your own power. Which is so interesting to me. And, you know, that's also my personality is when I see something that says something weird, my curiosity is just like, oh, what does that mean? Somebody's talking about orgasm when you're giving birth. What does that mean? Like, I just look at it completely with my eyeballs. Or if someone says, you know, there's blue aliens that are real and blah, 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 blah. My brain's just like, tell me more. I don't just immediately shut down, and that's my path. And not everyone's I say this because my point is not everyone's path is to be like that, and that's okay. Not everyone needs to be interested in mystics, metaphysics, spirituality. People can be 100% going very far forward on their path and it looking nothing like this, what we're talking about, and that's fine. But with my women's circles, for example, I want to emphasize to the women there that I will not be giving anyone advice, because the point of the women's circles or anything that I do is I want people to connect with their higher self, with their inner voice and their path, which will look different, so different for everyone. People don't carve out the time in their week to do that, or they don't take the steps when they're prompted by their week. So I want to help people to, every time they're prompted to go on that path, to take that invitation and step on it, whatever it is that they, you know. But yeah, back to the pain and pleasure thing. I've been, every time I get hurt accidentally, like I run over my foot with a trolley at the supermarket or something, at first I'm like thinking, oh, reaction. Let's just react in the most habitual way. Let my brain do what it's always done a million times over. And then go, okay, let's now redirect and move in this direction and go, this is pleasure, this is pleasure, this is pleasure. Ooh, yes, I like it. And then I just notice different things. I notice it's warm. I notice there's blood flowing around my foot where I got injured. And then I'm just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'm like smiling and walking along, like, oh, wow, it feels kind of cool. And the more you practice,
people around you looking at like this person bleeding out is like laughing, like hell's going on.
Yeah, just living in a different dimension, different reality. Yeah, anyway, so back to the thing about depression and things like that. So what do you, when you think about your situation, what do you think about? Like, what comes to mind when you think about your situation?
I was marking something down. Yeah, well, it's power, feeling powerless and heavy and quite literally heavy, like for example the physically heavy as well, but oh yeah, powerless, and those more call it most main sentiments of depression, like loneliness and definitely solidarity, and yeah, loneliness. Although sometimes lonely, it's not too much, because I've kind of I'm trying to embrace loneliness more, more and more, which I really feel like I've always my whole life I've always been surrounded by people, and then because of that, trying to surround myself with people when I'm not in that situation, when I'm by myself. So now I'm trying to do the opposite, and I've realized I actually really like to be by myself. Just how I do it has to just have to figure out the best way to do it, but yeah, feeling a little bit like that, and yeah, I just want to mention that, like, this thing about the pain and pleasure, I think is just so interesting for me, because I mean, I have always like these many different I don't know how to say, like, storyline thoughts. There's like this thought, this specific maybe it's something very specific, but it's anyway, there's this field of about something specific, a topic, and it's and over, I don't know, maybe I started thinking about it when I was 20, and until now, like, it's still one of the storylines that I'm going through, trying to figure stuff out and try to explore it, right? Like, for example, a lot of it is psychology connected. For example, how does music make me feel? Like, is this type of music healthy or not, for example? Or this pain and pleasure, like, that's maybe 2 years ago I started to understand. I think I saw something you said, that it's connected, and it's actually something like two sides of the same coin, or maybe even more closer even than that. But yeah, so this thing about, yeah, pain and pleasure, like, you hear about all this, masochists, they what they call it. Here's another word as well, but stuff like that. And then I've also heard, I think I've also heard about the orgasms in birth, and I was like, that's obviously, it's not really, sexually pleasurable in a way, even though it's going through the same canals, and the same ways of whatever normally it goes through. But I think it's very interesting, because it makes you think, well, if you're open, like you said, now, if you're open to knowing more, the blue aliens and all that stuff, like, just be open about it regardless of what it is. Then you start to think, okay, wait, there's something here, right? Like,
Yeah.
why do I have some people have complete, like, just pain, and they have one child and they give up, and no more children, and other people are just actually, they learn to enjoy it, or just enjoy it naturally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, I think that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know, I don't really know where I'm going with this, because yeah, you asked me about my rut thing here, but yeah, just in a very...
Well, I think that it's interesting you mentioned open-mindedness, because I often feel that that's the key to us getting out of suffering. Yeah, I do feel that, because the answers are always there on the other side. It's like a word that's about to be spoken. The answers are just on the tip of somebody's tongue. And there is a reason there's that quote is so famous: when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that is because the teacher is always there. The teacher's not appearing. The teacher you're not looking. That's why you don't see it.
Yeah.
When I started to focus a lot on vibration and raise my vibration, I see many, many times every single day things that I didn't see when my vibration was lower. And I recently had an experience, not recently, but one good example of an experience I had to do with this law of vibration was a month ago. I was with somebody, and we were having the same day side by side. And we saw very different things. I realized toward the end of the day, we had this kind of singular moment, And what I thought about that moment was, wow, what a gorgeous moment of us all being together and acknowledging this wonderful day that we all had together. And May was there, and May was looking so happy and smiling and just feeling so in her element, just surrounded by her loved ones. And yeah, and then this person, all that they noticed from that scenario was that they didn't look good in some way, and that other people have more than them, and they were interacting with scarcity and I'm not enough and low self-esteem and low self-worth, and they were interacting with like stuff that was real for them and that was obvious to them in that environment. And for me, that I didn't see that at all, what they saw. But what I saw was so much opportunity, gratitude, love, bliss, abundance. Same experience, same day, two different vibrations, saw very different realities. And I give that example because it's the same when I think about me and my past selves. My past selves have been like that as well. I've been such an ass in some of the jobs I used to have. I often think about apologizing to some of my ex-bosses and just saying to them, hey, a few years ago, remember I used to work for you? I'm so sorry that I was actually the worst. I was always living in this state of this job is not treating me well, or these other people, always victimhood. And I don't live in victimhood anymore. And I want to let you know, I made you wrong for those years and you were not wrong. And I'm sorry that I made you wrong. But my point is, the teacher is always there. We just need to be ready. As soon as you accept and say, I'm ready to be taught, the lessons will come flooding in to everybody. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to move a different country. You don't have to change jobs. Wherever you are right now, you can start receiving the lessons. You just have to say, I'm ready. And sometimes you can even say, I'm ready before you're ready. But just you setting that intention plants a seed. It's like putting a little wedge in the door,
right.
slammed shut. It's like one piece of paper in the door. But with that one piece of paper, you can start to get a second piece of paper, or, some other object, a metal ruler. And then you get, with time or without time, you wedge the door open a bit. Some of my ego deaths have started like that, with me, with my ego just saying, I'm willing, potentially in about a month, I will be possibly willing to start surrendering. That's how some of my ego deaths started. And then they ended with a really beautiful ego death. So I'm just saying that the lessons are always there, ready for us if we will look at them.
That's a really good sharing, because I think a lot of people, I think naturally we just think about, getting out of a depression, or getting out, having a breakthrough and getting out of something. It's always like pushing through and just, you can do it, and just, you have for example, the Nike slogan, right? You can just do it, and then, with the support and, get up and, you hear the alarm clock and you just push through it. And I'm not taking away from that, because I also really like that aspect of pure fight.
That energy.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's so awesome. Like that the feeling of, pure fight, and I can't even describe this euphoria that I feel like we feel as humans. But today about, this, it's like, in a way, it's like I can also connect it to this more recent years. This quote has been trending, which is work smart, not hard. It's like, if you, instead of going physically and doing something and waking up or doing whatever, but going inside is opening up your mind, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll do this. Here you go. Instead of like, going through the water, right? Like, for example, we can use that. We're going through the water. Instead it's like, oh, and then you just kind of lift up and start floating on the water, and it's just start walking.
Yeah. Oh, I love that analogy. That's so amazing. I just got a really powerful image of, some people just like sprinting underwater, and like, it's effective. They're going somewhere, they're moving. And then some other people,
these big guys
doing something else.
Yeah. Definitely. I see that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like one way is better than another way. When you said that,
Absolutely.
when I was thinking, now in the past we've talked about David Goggins and how people like to approach self-development all differently, which I think is beautiful. It just came to my mind, like testosterone is what came to my mind just now as you were talking about that fight. And if we take things down very far away from the psycho-spiritual, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
All
Hey.
right.
So
And
sorry,
we're back.
major glitch. Just if we take things down away from the spiritual for a second, make it very three-dimensional, talking about testosterone and estrogen. Testosterone is the hormone that is good for men to have high levels of, and it lowers their stress to have it, high levels of it. Women, it's the opposite. So when we have high levels of testosterone, we are more stressed. And for us, it's estrogen that if we boost our estrogen when we're stressed, our stress will go down. Men, if their estrogen is high, their stress will be up. And that what they need to do to lower their stress is to build their testosterone up and lower their estrogen. So it's normal that we're different. And it doesn't just mean only men and women are different. And of course, there's other people who, for them, their natural hormone levels will be nothing like what we talk about, the typical men and women. But it's normal that for you, interacting in that way of like this very high testosterone way of doing self-development is going to feel good for you. It's going to feel natural. Whereas for me, as a woman, the way that I like to do self-development is more estrogen boosting. It's like this maternal, caretaking, loving, compassionate, all together with the other women. Let's join and let's chat and let's let our egos surrender very willingly into our arms of the higher self, move forward. Like that's the female way. So, and this is just me spitballing here. I don't know for sure, but maybe that's why Ken May, my husband, likes that as well. That like, raw, smash things,
Yeah.
go forward, like
Yeah.
bulldoze into your. He wakes up at 5 a.m. and he's like, right, me, myself, you don't want to wake up? Well, too fucking bad. We're waking up right now and we're going for a run. Like that's his attitude, you know? And I'm just like, whoa. As long
Take a
as you
step
don't
back,
make
let him pass through. Yeah.
just like step back so that the guy can go. Just let him do his
Yeah,
thing. As long as he doesn't make me do
Yeah.
it, that's fine. I
That's
like to
interesting.
I can do a lot physically. I mean, I gave birth. So I know what it means to every time you think you've reached a physical limit, to actually push your mind further and actually challenge your mind and go, can I go further? And then about 200 more times, can I actually go further? And every time you think you cannot go a second further, that you actually push one more time and one more time, one more time, and your bones move out of the way
Ugh.
so far
Yeah.
that in a photo, there's a photograph of me giving birth and from behind, and you can see my back, you can see my bones protruding out of my skin. That level
Those words.
of
Why'd you have to use that?
sacrifice, that level of sacrifice and having mind over matter. I know what David Goggins is talking about. Any woman who's done what I've done knows about it, but we don't interact with it that way.
Right. Right.
But
do you think, just a side question, do you think the woman that have given birth, so okay, mothers, I said it like that, do you think mothers, well, is that why mothers like, and feminine mothers, I guess, but mothers like masculine men, because of, they see that these men, well, normally masculine, you see like men that challenge themselves, maybe not only physically, but maybe in general it's a more physical thing, like, and therefore tend to be more physically bigger and developed, but men that are like rugged and hard work laborers, and these guys that are like, they're strong, because they know what they know, really, they know by experience that this takes courage from the inside. Like you have to really push through internally to become to go to the gym every day and to push all these weights and to keep going it every day. Do you think that there's some kind of attraction, like, oh wow, this, even if it's subconscious, that this man is a term that's used nowadays, a high value man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't speak for other women because we're all just so different. We vary a lot among women. You can tell,
Okay.
but even me and my close friends, all of the guys that we're attracted to are all very different. But for me, I can speak to my own experience, and that is that when I saw Kemme for the first time in my life, I saw a giant. He looked like a giant to me internally, emotionally, spiritually. So put together. He had done so much work on himself. You could see his ego was so he had got his ego under his thumb like a dog on a leash, and he was interacting as his higher self, and I could see that straight away. It was like clear as day. So he looked like, internally, he looked like a guy who was going to the gym a lot, but more spiritually, that's what I saw. Physically, he's not that big, but he's bigger than me. But I mean, what I saw was the way that he can string a sentence together and form a cohesive thought in his third language, which is English, better than any other man, that I had ever interacted with. I was like, oh, that is some serious gym work that he's been doing mentally, but also the spiritual thing of like the fact that he was interacting as his higher self, and you could see the calm around him. The calm, but also incredibly intense and passionate, because that's who he is a very intense person. That's what I saw. And yeah, it was very attractive to me. I felt safe when I was around him because I knew he knew what the hell he was doing in his life every moment of every day. And I'd never seen that before in my life. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I get that. And I felt, I definitely felt the same when I first met him. Met you guys, but met him when I was 2015, when I was 16. Yeah, I felt definitely like, oh, of course, the way immediately he talked to me, like as an older brother, like, and always tolerant, always kind. Yeah, like and always spoily. You guys spoiled me so much that trip. Oh my gosh. The McDonald's going back, we were late and it was like uncomfortable and tired, but you guys came back with McDonald's on the bus. Like, wow, I feel bad, but I'm just gonna, like, I really let myself go. Like, I know, okay, there's a chance here for me to, like, it's not my first time traveling anymore, and okay, I wanna like be better, and I wanna be, better and more kind. But they're doing this for me, and I'm like, I'm gonna enjoy it. Is that the case? I'm gonna enjoy, and I just enjoyed the hell out of that.
Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I'm so glad to hear that. Just for context for people listening, so this McDonald's trip, we were in probably Belgium or countryside of France or something like that. We were on a bus between France and
Paris.
Germany.
Yeah, Paris and Düsseldorf or Essen. Yeah.
And so this bus had some stops sometimes for food and things like that. It was a long drive. And at one of the stops, we got McDonald's for Tucker to eat for lunch. And the bus was waiting for us. And Kemme and I actually had a fight about that because we were still in the beginning of our relationship. We had a lot of things to work out amongst ourselves. But yeah, he was not about to give up. He and I are both very stubborn people, and we're learning how to work with each other on that much better now. But yeah, that McDonald's is something that we still talk about. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it.
Because I remember that day. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I realized it at that point, but I remember when we got to Germany, we got to the hotel room. We got someone else's bag. You remember that? We had someone else's bag, and we had to go to the police. I think Kevin went to the police to deliver it, and it got it because it was exactly the same as ours, and we switched it. We swapped bags.
Oh.
And it was just like stressful in that trip. And then when you guys came back, like to the bus. I remember like the weather was all gloomy and gray and dark, and we were tired because it was a long bus trip. And you guys came back. It was not, by the way, it was not a normal hamburger, one menu meal. I'm pretty sure I got like 2 meals. I'm pretty sure I got 2 meals and like extra. There was extra stuff on it. Like it was extra fries or something. And I was like, oh, sorry, just give me a sec. Meal, like it really was. But yeah, that was not a normal meal. There was like so much. It was so filled to the brim, which I never get because here, growing up a little bit, not with so much money, it's like, oh, you get a meal and that's it, and it's nice, I can enjoy it. But finally, it's packed to the brim with stuff. The brown bag of McDonald's, the paper bag.
Yeah.
Feel I'm like, and it's so smelly to the bus. I'm just making it smell throughout the bus, and I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about the other people.
Yeah.
And and I had yours or Kemi's. Had yours or Kemi's
iPod.
What do you call that? iPod. And I never used it, and I love because I used to with Amadeus. There's just music that I didn't know, and I was exploring it and eating the burgers, and I was traveling. I was like,
you were so young. I forget how young you were back then. Just like it was really like a younger brother experience, and we were like the older ones.
It was. I completely. Sorry, I shouldn't say like I completely also like surrendered to the position of a younger brother, and also subconsciously, like I completely let myself go. I remember when I got to the hotel, and I was like I took all my clothes off, and I was just in my undies, and I was like, yeah, let's go. And I was like, okay, it's my sister meeting for the first time, and her. I'm like, I completely like let myself in your guys' lap, like whatever you call it, and. Yeah, and I'm really aware of that, and it was great to have that experience. The whole thing, it was really good.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of things I learned from that and how I grew, specifically from having the lessons from that trip. But yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. So thanks. I never said thanks, I think, actually. I don't remember saying it, so thank you.
Maybe you did. I don't really.
Probably, but
it's such a long time ago that I don't have any kind of thoughts anymore about that trip in terms of like, for me, it's all complete. But I do think it was a great experience, but again, like so much suffering because my ego was always in the driver's seat of my life. And all the years that my ego was like that is years of suffering. Of course, a lot of awesome things as well, but a lot of fighting, for example, with Kenmei. Kenmei and I were getting to know each other. We weren't married yet. And we realized both of us thought that we're going to be the one in the driver's seat of our relationship. We thought that we were going to be the one controlling everything. And I say that very broadly. Obviously, it's a simplification. We thought that we were being fair, but both of us were being unfair. And we've only recently, however many years later, realized that, which is why he's in Peru right now, having his first ever ayahuasca experience right now as we speak.
Is that what he's gone?
I was late for this call because he was calling me in preparation for starting, just to reconnect with me and also receive any words that I was gonna say. And so I was just telling him what I would tell to myself before giving birth, before having like some kind of intense physical experience paired with an ego death. And just how you're going to bring to it what you're going to bring to it. So it's really up to you. If you want to focus on what's physically uncomfortable or suffering or scary, that will get amplified. If you're focusing on the good about the situation, the beauty and the magnitude of how transcendent and incredible it is, you're going to get more of that. Where focus goes, energy flows. And we talked about that. And I was saying, I'm so happy for him. And even before the last time you and I spoke, he hadn't even bought his flights to go to Peru. And now he's bought them.
Yeah.
He's there, traveled with his family, climbed Machu Picchu a few times. Now he's starting an ayahuasca journey. So this is what I mean as well, like about thinking about collapsing time and space. Once you step up to a new vibration, instantly everything happens. we stepped up in our marriage. We liberated each other of the chains, concepts of what you have to be as a husband and a father, what I have to be as a mother and a wife, and just go, like, let's set each other free. And I set him free and he stayed in the cage. I set him free from my cage, and he took a while to step out of the cage, and he kept saying, nah, it's too comfortable in here. This is all I know is being in the cage. And I kept saying to him, got to step out of the cage. Like, the choice is yours if you're willing to take it. And eventually he did step out of the cage, and he bought the flights and he went, after fighting it for a little while and just being like, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And he was like, I do really want to go.
Damn, that's crazy. Because I've also gotten information about it, exposed to it like a few years ago, and I want like I know I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to Keme. We haven't talked about my developments from since I went to Japan, and what kind of thoughts I've been having and wanting to do and all that. And also for him, like he hated the gym when I was in Australia. Like he was like, people wasting time of their lives to go to the gym to work out when there's other things in life to do. Like he was really adamant about this. Like like in Europe, it's like in Japan as well, but Japan is a bit different. But culture is important. You have the routines, and you eat well. You don't eat healthy, you eat well. And Australians are so obsessed with fitness and all that. And now he's obviously different. Getting exposed to David Goggins and hearing, you're saying that he woke up at 5 a.m. and who is going to carry the boats? I like that Keme, I don't know, so.
And I think part of it is also that he wanted to do it while maintaining those values that are important to him. He wasn't going to sacrifice eating well and having those kind of European things to go to the gym. And meeting me and getting the disappointment of knowing I'm Australian, and like that means that a certain food culture I bring with me, we had to spend a few years cultivating the kind of culture we want to have around food. And I did not grow up with that European food culture, and I have it now. So I cook. We have meal together, usually twice a day, a cooked hot meal on the table, at the dining table, sitting down all together as a family, which is something I didn't think I would be capable of as a mother, because my instinct is to do more what's expedient, and go, oh yeah, it's important, but I hadn't put the work in to really create that habit. I have that now, so like I'm full mum mode. I put my apron on, I cook the food, it goes on the table, my kids sit down, we eat together, then the cleanup happens straight after, and there is actually time for all that. There is time, which is something that in cultures like this and America, England, where we don't have a strong European food culture or Japanese food culture, we really had to work on that. And Keme was really strong on, he wants that. So there were certain things that we brought into our life. And once that became stable, then he was like, okay, I have everything here, basically, that I need. I'm willing to step into that Australian gym culture and things like that.
Interesting. Yeah. So he stabilized, and from that, stable and
Maybe. This is the one.
Hey.
At the end, because it's almost
Hey.
cut you off. But can you say
hello?
Taka?
Hello.
That's Taka.
Hey, mate-chan.
Bit quiet at the moment. Mwah. Oh, she just asked for milk. That's so funny. She's still breastfeeding. She sleeps so much better now. She sleeps so much better now at night than she did when she was younger. But I still spend some of my sleeping hours breastfeeding her, like at the beginning of the night and the end of the night, for about more than half an hour.
Damn.
And during the day.
I mean, wow. No swear words near the young one. Hey.
Uncle
hey,
Taka.
Beauty.
Uncle
You
Taka.
beauty.
Anyway,
What
we better
what a
wrap it up.
beauty. Yeah, sure.
But I learned a lot today,
my
and
gosh.
I really enjoyed chatting with you. I feel like I learned things. I feel inspired. This is the way that we, you know, enjoy life is through talking about deep things and
Yeah.
stepping up and
Yeah.
giving at each other and everything. I'm so excited to hear about Kenmay's experiences as well with him doing
Me
that.
too. Me too. You should maybe talk with him and record it, and then like a little episode thing with you guys, and then I can watch it. Because I don't catch up with him either. So if you can like make a little podcast with like a mini episode with him of him maybe like asking him a few questions and him like getting used to in front of the camera, that could be good.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
All right. Yeah, and also I really enjoyed it. This was also not only enjoyable but really helped me. So thanks.
Yeah, let's chat again soon. Okay, bye Taka and everybody listening. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye everyone. Bye Meta. Bye.
Bye.